The Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission is asking the World Bank to apologize for describing its management and board as incompetent.
They're not really doing what they have to do. There's like a lot of improvement needed. They don't give us electricity regularly. The taps are not flowing, and it's a problem to us because basically there are things we need, like necessities. I live in Osu. Well, it's not that bad over there, but yeah, they could do better.
And is the World Bank right to call the PURC incompetent? We'll find out on today's big story. My name is Bright Nana. For the show is brought to you by Blue Rose Limited, Shelter for All, as well as Star Life Assurance. Now let's get into action. The Public Utilities Regulatory Commission is described as woefully unacceptable. The attack by the World Bank on the competence of its management and board. The PURC, in a detailed response to a damning report released by the World Bank on Tuesday, said it is very sad that the World Bank would attack the competence, qualification and experience of the PURC's commissioners in that manner. It says the report is woefully unacceptable and an indictment on the President of the Republic of Ghana and the whole nation. The PURC was set up as an independent body to regulate and oversee the provision of the highest quality of electricity and water services to consumers. Now, under the Energy Commission Act 1997, the Commission is also required to approve charges for the supply, transportation and distribution of electricity and natural gas, as well as the bulk storage and transportation of petroleum products. Is that what the situation is, and have Ghanaians been speaking about it? Let's speak to a lot more Ghanaians and listen to what they have to say about the Commission's work.
They need to do more harder than this, what they are doing so far, because right now I can't say they are not doing it. They are not doing their job, because so far there are some places there is water. Some places too, there's no water. There are even some places who has enjoyed water for so long. And there are some places too, 2-3 days. Maybe they may enjoy water 2-3 days, and then a week they won't get water. Even just like here, this place right now. Sometimes we get water a day, then the whole week we not get water. But when you go to some places, the water is flowing just like that. You see, meaning some people are doing their work and others are not doing their work. So I think it's good for them to do more harder and look into what is happening.
For me, at this point, everybody should have lights, potable water and lights to enjoy whatever it brings to them. At a point, I would say yes, only that they are not putting more effort to get those amenities to them.
Right now, we have problem with electricity, and sometimes they put off our lights like for days or for like 24 hours without even no notice, and we have problems with that a lot. Even water too. Where I live, we don't even have water, and I hear there are people to ensure that, but we don't see them around, and it's very, very, very bad.
They're not really doing what they have to do. There's like a lot of improvement needed. They don't give us electricity regularly. The taps are not flowing, and it's a problem to us because basically there are things we need, like necessities. I live in Osu. Well, it's not that bad over there, but yeah, they could do better.
And at my place, always there's water and electricity problems. So the PURC are not doing their work well.
Right, so you're welcome once again to today's big story, and we'll be talking about PURC, its work, how it is affecting the energy sector, and particularly we'll be crossing over onto the phone lines to speak to the VRA. Now, one of the issues that the report raised is that the suspension of the quarterly adjustment of tariffs is responsible for perhaps the poor operations of some utilities. Now in the studio I have the Executive Director of the Center for Energy Policy, Mohammed Amin Adam, and the Director of Policy and Research at the same center, Mr. Pitano, welcome to today's big story. So let me start from you. The issue is that the quarterly suspension of the increase in tariffs, the World Bank says, is responsible for the reason why utilities are perhaps underperforming.
Well, I think the World Bank perfectly is right in making that assessment. You agree with me that the automatic adjustment tariff, what it seeks to do is to transfer increases and decreases in international prices in terms of the build-up to the tariff to the consumer at the burner tip. And so what that means is that anytime there is increase in crude oil, for instance, automatically it should reflect at the burner tip price.
Right.
But then if you as a regulator, for some reasons, been unable to do that adjustment or to allow the adjustment, to trigger, then of course you build up the price. And when this price build up to a large extent, it becomes so huge. And at that point, transfer becomes a problem. So I think, yes, the delay in triggering the, that point.
The quarterly adjustment.
Yeah, quarterly adjustment.
So how would you react to the fact when PRC says that, no, really, that is not the solution? What is really the problem is that the people cannot pay.
Well, it's one way the people not paying, another way doing what you are responsible to do. If the people are not able to pay, that has to do with the economic performance. People don't have money in their pocket and therefore they will not be able to pay. But you as PURC, it's not your responsibility to determine whether the people have money in their pocket or not. If you have to determine whether people have money in your pocket, that means you have some element of regulatory capture. So you are leaving up to government to see whether government is making it possible for the people to pay. That is not the responsibility of the Public Utility Regulatory Commission.
Right.
So they fail basically by making sure that what they are mandated to do in triggering the effect of the automatic adjustment should work. And that is the point of failure. Whether the people have money to pay or not, you let the effect to occur and government can come in and say, well, we might be able to subsidize or provide some sort of accommodation to cushion the effect.
Mr. Adams, now, one of the issues that PRC is not happy about, it says that its management is being described as incompetent. It says that it lacks that skilled workers to really do the work it is mandated to do. How would you react to that?
Before I react to that, I mean, there are other factors apart from what John Peter mentioned, the crude oil price, but there are also the exchange rate, which is one of the factors in the pricing formula for tariffs. But you also have what we call generation mix. How much water, hydro are you generating from? How much of thermal generation is in the generation mix?
Right.
And so as you're getting more from thermal, which is more expensive because it consumes light crude oil. VRA spent about $600 million last year on the import of light crude oil alone. And so if that is not factored into the prices that you give them or the tariffs you give them, then you are deliberately running down the company. But coming to the question you asked, if you look at the membership of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, and I happen to be a member, I was a member of the Public Utilities Commission from 2002, thereabout to 2005.
Right.
And the appointment is based on two principles. First of all, the fact that it is an independent commission requires bodies other than government to be on the commission. And this is why you have institutional representation from TUC, from the Consumer Protection Association, from AGI, Association of Ghana Industries. They all send representation.
So is the World Bank right when it says that, well, the people are representatives of stakeholders, not really people with the expertise to deal with the problems that PURC need to do to get utilities right? I
mean, there is no doubt that when the institutions are appointing their representatives, they may not be given regard to their level of expertise in the work they will be doing. But it is institutional representation. They have an interest. They have concerns which need to be protected at the PURC. But beyond that, the PURC has a secretariat, which is staffed with competent people. I mean, they have expertise, and I have worked with some of them who do all the technical stuff and then send it to the commission, where the commission will then, with the benefit of advice from the technical people, take their decisions before they are announced. And so much as I agree that the members may not be selected based on their professional background as a result of the institutional representation, they are supported by the work of the technical team within the PURC.
And does it really work? Because
yeah,
the commission seem to be in some kind of difficulty. The suspension, for instance, of the quarterly adjustment is said to have affected utilities so much. So it means that really there's something wrong somewhere.
Yes, I think that you need to trace the history of tariff setting in the country. The PURC used to do quarterly adjustment, but the quarterly adjustment is supposed to make insignificant impact on consumers. But it got to a point as a result of a reliance on light crude oil and the prices were volatile. The quarterly adjustment were even becoming a major impact on the consumers as well as industrial consumers in particular. And so that was when the PURC decided to suspend it for some time. But I think that if you go into the PURC, they are reconsidering the quarterly adjustment. But let me make this important point.
Right.
The PURC has come under attack for some time now, and I have advised them to reconsider their role because they are supposed to ensure that they give tariffs to the companies that will ensure they have a reasonable return on their investment, but they are also supposed to ensure that consumers have quality of service.
Right.
And so if consumers are complaining they are not getting the quality, the companies are complaining they are investing but they are not getting their returns, then the PURC has to reconsider its mandate.
It has to receive the passion from the utilities.
Yes.
Mr. Mewu, you are in charge of policy and research. Let's talk about the PURC. Should the institution be scrapped?
Not necessarily. As a country, we need such independent regulatory institutions. But the level of independence, they have to determine the role they perform.
They are not independent. That's what you want to say. They are not totally independent.
Because there's some element of regulatory capture, because government seems to have certain control over what they do. Yeah. At any point they want to trigger the automatic adjustment, government have a say to say, no,
don't do it. When the pressure is on the shoulders of government.
And so these are the difficulties the institutions or the regulatory body is also facing. What we need to do, again, is to go forward and look at appointment procedures. Financial obligation fines, they are highly financially independent. But what about appointment procedures? Because invariably they are appointed by the president. Okay, and so whoever appoints you, they have a long role in terms of determining whether you should be there or you should not be there.
Right.
And so one level of making it not totally independent, because in real work can you find a regulatory authority that is 100%.
So because of that particular, I should say, string by way of appointment, the commission is unable to do its work well.
I think to a large extent, because whoever appoints you has a role, again, in firing you out. But then if your appointment becomes more fixed, and right. you are so confident that nobody can fire you irrespective of what you do, you are prepared to take the right decision without looking back. Okay, and so to a large extent, some of us think that appointment can go into parliament, for approval, or go into other, more legislative framework to make the position becomes a bit more permanent and strong. Professor Snowball, in UK, that we know, one of the best regulators that we have. He was very confident to deliver because the source of appointment and where he drive his powers for were not directly from the Prime Minister.
And do you see government looking at the water and electricity sectors, how powerful it can play in government's policy direction and how popular it is? Do you see government being in a position to say that, well, PRC, get things right, get the people you need to work and work efficiently, and that I am going to take my hands off appointing these persons?
Unfortunately, because of our political economy, where we are now as a country, that is not going to be very easy. Number one, because, yes, I agree, the people don't have money in their pocket to, come out with this payment as and when it's due, and government will have the impact because people will definitely go on street when prices are going to rise up. And so what we need to do as a country is to go beyond and look at the economic performance indicators of whoever is holding that decision, as a leader of the country. If people have money in their pocket, they will be able to pay fees, pay regulatory fees in terms of tariffs without complaint. It is when they don't have money, that is when they complain because things are difficult. And so one policy direction It's to make sure that there's money in the pocket of the people.
Right.
The people are living comfortably. And so when you increase your tariff, nobody will complain. People are complaining now because they are not able to come out with payment in terms of tariff.
Let me quickly go to Mr. Amin, and let's talk about the capacity of the PRC. Now, just a portion of the release that was sent out today. Now, it says that it is not true that the Commission has capacity constraints and it is unable to retain staff. It says that it trains at considerable extent. Now, it says at top management level, the Commission quickly replaced retiring staff with competent replacement. Is this a true reflection of what you see?
Yeah, I think that even before then, I want to touch a little on the appointment. The president has a number of the commissioners he appoints.
Right.
But there are others that are nominated by their agencies, and the president cannot reject them. And so, to a large extent, he exercises his prerogative in the Constitution to appoint, but apart from that, those other members that are nominated by their institutions, the president only issues appointment letters.
Right.
But when I was on the commission, Mr. Kwame Pianim was our chairman. He refused, to get letters of appointment from the president because we were to be independent.
He thinks the people were not competent?
Yeah,
he was worried about the competence of the people?
Not that. He was worried about the independence of the commission, But, apart from that, I think it is also important to recognize that the PURC is a body that has been in existence for some time now. And I think it is better they evaluate, what they have done so far, what they haven't been able to do. If it's the issue of capacity, I think they have reasonably high level of capacity. But, the industry is evolving every day. Now, gas distribution regulation is going to be added to their work according to the law that set them up. Do they have that capacity to regulate gas pricing? And so for every institution, every day when you see the need to reform, to build on your capacity to meet the challenging and dynamic needs of the industry, you need to do that. But to say that the PURC doesn't have some capacity, I beg to differ.
Well,
yes.
Let's talk about what people are talking about the fact that really the PRC, they're not getting what they need from them. They think that the PRC is unable to whip utilities into line to do its best. They talk about the power going off. They are not informed about it. Would you say that people are overly expectant of the PRC as a result of these criticisms?
Yeah, I think the PURC has a major role to play in ensuring that the power companies provide quality and efficient services. But the bottom line is investment. Investment. And investment comes from two sources. Government owns these companies, and therefore government has to invest.
Right.
Secondly, if you are consuming power, you must pay for the power you consume. I even have been amazed about the level of tariffs the PURC gives the companies. For instance, ECG...
You don't deserve it? Is that what you want to say?
ECG actually deserves more.
Oh, right.
And let me explain why. What we call the regulated asset base of the company. When the PURC started determining tariffs for them, they had to find out what the asset base was. And that was one of the factors for determining how much you give them to be able to maintain their asset and to renew their asset. What was given to them was undervalued. Secondly, what we call transmission losses and distribution losses, since they were fixed at the time they started determining tariffs for them in 1999, 2000, have not been changed, even though there have been significant changes in transmission losses. And so ECG is having problems, even maintaining their equipment. That is why we have problems. And if we're saying that we shouldn't give them tariffs because they are not performing well, we are postponing the solution to the problems.
And consumers are not right in saying that, well, if I'm not getting the service, don't increase the tariffs?
Yes, they are right. It is their right. But let's look at
So where do we place the two? Consumers asking for improved tariffs, and then PRC increasing tariffs despite the fact that consumers think that the services are not that good.
I think that government has an important role to play here because we pay taxes to the government. The companies are owned by government. Government, as a matter of agency, must recapitalize these companies. If we cannot do it and we want to pass on all their investment costs and requirement to consumers can bear it. But at the same time, we can't allow the companies to collapse. And so we are in the middle of the sea, and the only one, omnipotent, one that can support us is the government.
Hard to get some flesh of the VRA to speak to us, as well as some officials of the ECG. But we're still in the studio with the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Let me come back to you now. Mr. Amin is suggesting that government will need to recapitalize these utilities in order to move on and get that quality of service. But the concerns is that the wastage is simply unbearable.
Yeah, I think you're right, but it's important for government to realize that the very institutions that you set up to perform a specific roles are being, collapsed by the same government which is setting up these institutions. And so it is important for government to do some sort of addressing the problem. And so yes, government need to come forward. But even before government come forward, there are some internal problems within these companies themselves. They need to look inside and address their internal problems. If they are able to solve some of these internal problems before government come on board, of course, then the issues, will move in a parallel.
So it is not simply government recapitalizing them.
Because there's a lot of, I would describe it as some level of inefficiency in terms of performance within some of these companies.
Right.
ECG, as we note clearly, in terms of VRA distributions, losses are far above industry standard. Transmission losses, we know, are quite high, also above industry standard. What is causing that? Because if you are producing power and you cannot sell the power to the consumers that are the benefit for the purpose of the power that you produce, you produce 100, what comes to them turns out to be 70.
Right.
Where is the other 30? These are losses that you are asking consumers to pay for. So we think that they need to work internally, renovate their system internally, and so that whatever government has and come on board and add that in terms of restructuring or trying to build them out will actually address the solution. If they not be able to address their internal problems and government comes out with an external solution to the problem, I don't think that we'll move forward. We'll move one step forward and at the same time move 2 steps back.
I'm trying hard to get Mr. Sam Fletcher, the Corporate Communications Director at VRA, on phone. Hopefully he will join me. But in wrapping up, now the PRC is not too happy with the World Bank. Is it because there are genuine reasons, or you think that it is looking for perhaps some kind of room to escape because of the report by the World Bank?
I mean, I think that with the ECG issue, yes, there are inefficiencies because the distribution losses of about 30% consist of technical losses and commercial losses. The commercial losses are largely attributed to inefficiency. And so I agree with my brother that they need to work on that. But where we are is an issue of investment. And I think that government must come in strongly to provide the necessary. I mean, while they solve the management problem, at the end of it all, you are talking about generation capacity, you are talking about distribution equipment, you're talking about transformers, and all this must come from investment. If we cannot pay the required tariffs to enable them renew their plant and equipment, government must come in as a matter of course. But other than that, we will have problems.
So which tariffs first and quality service,
as for tariffs,
quality service and tariff increment?
As for tariffs, we can run away from tariff increment.
But which is first?
Well, I think that if we don't pay the tariff now, the quality will not improve overnight. That is the issue. And so if we postpone it, then we are postponing quality of service. And so that's why I say we are in the middle of the sea. We have to look at it holistically. Consumers must accept a certain amount of increase in tariffs. ECG must improve on their efficiency. Government must come in with recapitalization. And then we can solve the problems.
Move on. Your last was Mr. Mel before we wrap up.
Unfortunately, if these companies get the tariff increase and then they forget about, improving the level of
the quality of service.
And so I think that they need to do the internal problems. They need to address that first. Then they can increase tariff and government comes on to solve the problem. So that is the way I will look at it. Because if the tariff comes now and we receive it and we pay back to them, well, they forget about what they are doing wrong. So let them address their problem. They will come.
How do they address it?
Right, of course.
How do they
continue.
Last year, ECG could pay only less than 60% of their bills to VRA. So how do they solve the problem?
Right. So a lot more of you have sent in your comments onto our social media platform. I'll be reading more of them. But of course, Ghana has also been talking about what has just happened. The fact that the PRC is hitting back at the World Bank report for what it says. It disagrees with some of the portions of the report. So let's listen to what Ghana is saying about what the PRC is talking about from the World Bank report. Right, well, just before I bring you that, more of your text messages coming in here, and a lot more of you have done that via our social media platforms. And quickly, let me go through some of them for you as you comment on the issue at stake, water and electricity supply. PRC says not too happy about portions of a report issued by the World Bank, whilst the World Bank says that, of course, the suspension of the quarterly tariff adjustments is responsible for some difficulties being encountered by some of the utility providers. So let me quickly read some of the comments that have come onto our social media platform. And this one from alongside Abdul Ogolosos, the truth hurts. Really, I don't know what you're talking about, but perhaps you're referring to the PURC, the fact that not too happy about what the World Bank says. Well, technology really dealing hard with me here in the studio. But a lot more of you have sent in comments, and we'll be getting them and telling you more about what you sent us concerning the PRC and its reaction to the report from the World Bank. But later on at 8 p.m. when Israel joins you on News at 8, let me tell you exactly some of the issues we'll be looking at now. A combined team of the Tema Regional Police, the Fire Service, and the Tema Metropolitan Assembly security guards were told have fought an attempt by some unknown persons to set the Tema Central Market Community 1 on blaze. The suspected arson, which was detected about 12 midnight of Wednesday, 3rd July 2013, by the team is said to have resulted in the burning of 2 tables used to set the fire alight. And also the issue of the World Bank criticizing the board of the ECG. We'll get you more details on that, as well as President Mahama directing the finance ministries and road ministers to immediately release funds for the rehabilitation and construction of some priority roads across the country. According to him, government is committed to expanding the country's roads infrastructure in spite of the country's financial constraints. And don't forget that Ghana has zoomed into the quarter-final of the World Cup and expecting to play Chile after a thrilling topsy-turvy 3-2 win over Portugal in Turkey. Right, the show was brought to you by Blue Rose Limited and, of course, Shelter for All, as well as Star Life Assurance. We are back here tomorrow, but of course we have more Focus on Africa, as well as 8 p.m. when Israel joins us. My name is Bright Nanafo. Thanks so much for joining us, and get more on myjoyonline.com. Good evening and see you later.